For U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the path to weakening Cuba's government is closely linked to what happens in Venezuela, according to reporting by the New York Times. Rubio believed that targeting Venezuela first could ultimately destabilize Havana's hold on power. Trump's top diplomat has spent years trying to undermine Cuba's government, which maintains deep and long-standing ties with Caracas, and his approach has consistently intertwined U.S. policy toward Venezuela and the Cuban regime. Marco Rubio immigrated to the United States from Havana 3 years before Cuba's communist revolution in 1959, giving him a personal perspective on the island's political trajectory and the consequences of the Castro regime. During Trump's previous presidency, Rubio played a pivotal role in efforts to overthrow Nicolás Maduro, but the opportunity to topple the Venezuelan leader proved short-lived, despite significant planning and U.S. backing. The attempted revolt against Maduro failed in part because of the support he received from Cuba, a development that left Rubio frustrated and determined to pursue a more comprehensive strategy against both governments. Reports indicate that Cuban intelligence actively alerted Maduro to the plans for the uprising, while Cuban operatives stationed in Caracas helped him suppress the movement, according to sources cited by the New York Times. In addition, Cuba reportedly had a plane on standby to evacuate Maduro to Havana if necessary, demonstrating the deep operational link between Caracas and Havana, as revealed by U.S. officials to the newspaper. In what many are calling Trump 2.0, Rubio has emerged as a principal architect behind a military and diplomatic campaign designed to apply maximum pressure on Venezuela in order to accelerate political change. Removing Maduro from power is not just a geopolitical objective for Rubio. It also fulfills his long-standing ambition of delivering a significant blow to the Cuban government, a goal he has pursued for decades, according to the New York Times. And here's what Biden Jr.'s top White House aide has to say, and I quote, "Their theory of change involves cutting off all support to Cuba. Under this approach, once Venezuela goes, Cuba will follow." The events of 2019 highlighted the close and strategic relationship between Venezuela and Cuba, which has historically complicated U.S. efforts to influence politics in the region and has posed persistent challenges for multiple American presidents. Leftist leaders across Latin America, including those in Caracas and Havana, have repeatedly challenged U.S. policies, dating back to the presidency of Dwight D. Eisenhower, and their alliance continues to influence the balance of power in the hemisphere. Venezuela and Cuba maintain strong economic, political, and security partnerships, which Havana works tirelessly to protect, ensuring that its influence in Latin America remains intact despite decades of external pressure. Havana's leadership is particularly concerned that the fall of Maduro to a U.S.-backed successor could undermine Cuba's broader survival strategy, threatening its ability to continue operating as a resilient state under international isolation. The United States recently escalated its efforts against Caracas when it seized a tanker carrying Venezuelan oil, intensifying pressure on both Maduro and Cuba amid rising tensions in the region. According to the New York Times, the tanker had already offloaded a portion of its oil to a vessel headed for Cuba before continuing toward China, underscoring the entangled economic relationship between the two nations. Cuban opposition leader José Daniel Ferrer fled to the United States in October after being released from prison, highlighting the ongoing repression in Havana and the continued relevance of U.S.-based opposition figures. Ferrer reportedly met with Rubio and later emphasized that removing Maduro from power would simultaneously weaken the Cuban regime, reinforcing the dual-pronged strategy championed by the U.S. senator. For some U.S. leaders, removing Maduro is just the first step. Here's what Senator of South Carolina has to say. "Hopefully the end of Maduro's reign of terror in Venezuela is near, and then we can focus on Cuba, one of his greatest allies and one of the most oppressive regimes in our backyard." Experts note that Cuba has survived decades of economic and political isolation, largely because it continues to benefit from strategic support and investment from global powers such as Russia and China, allowing it to maintain a foothold in international affairs. Florida, a critical swing state in U.S. elections, is home to over 2 million residents of Cuban ancestry, many of whom are Republicans, giving Rubio's anti-Cuba and anti-Venezuela rhetoric added political resonance and electoral significance. Rubio's messaging combines a deeply personal narrative with a clear political strategy, making him a uniquely effective messenger in promoting a hardline approach toward both Venezuela and Cuba, blending symbolism, politics, and geopolitics into a single, powerful narrative.